Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the last sane sports fan.
I am a genius by trade.
I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The View from the Midwest. Well, we talked about hockey coaching yesterday, so let's go ahead and carry that over into today. Going to come back local here and talk about the St. Louis Blues with Ken Hitchcock and the kind of situation that they've put him in. I'm not quite as down on the whole deal as the newspapers and some of the media in town are. But I do kind of agree that going after Mike Babcock when you knew that he probably wasn't going to come here due to the money that he wanted may have been a bad situation. Mike Babcock is good friends with Ken Hitchcock, so he was unlikely to really ever come here because he didn't want to stab his friend in the back. Ken Hitchcock probably is best for this team anyway, unless you brought in somebody like Todd McClellan or some other big name that may not necessarily be out there right now. Maybe there's going to be a late firing or whatever. What out there is better? The St. Louis Blues are in a position that they need to win now. The window is still open, but it's shrinking. And they have the coach that's capable of doing it right now. And do you really want to try to bring in another young assistant coach or an up-and-comer with this team? Obviously the Tampa Bay Lightning proved that you can do that. But people in St. Louis knew that John Cooper was going to be a good coach regardless, simply because they had seen him go up through the ranks with the St. Louis Bandits on through the minor leagues and now to the NHL. But that's kind of a crapshoot. You don't necessarily always know that that will translate. Look at Davis Payne. Davis Payne was an excellent coach in the minor leagues. You bring him up with the St. Louis Blues and all of a sudden things don't work out quite as well. So now it's a situation where Ken Hitchcock is most likely going to be given a one-year deal. And the way the contracts are really kind of structured, I'm more falling into that camp that really doesn't think that there's going to be a whole lot of changes to this team. There needs to be changes, but they need to get equal talent in return. That's very difficult to do. I think Doug Armstrong is smart enough to be able to come up with a good deal. But I don't think there's going to be this wholesale change that people are clamoring for either. That whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But the two situations combined are kind of going to form an interesting dynamic within that locker room because there are so many rumors that there are malcontents now in the St. Louis Blues locker room causing trouble, causing things to not gel quite as well as they should, especially at the time when you have to be a cohesive unit in the playoffs. Instead, the Blues seem to find themselves, well, I'm going to do this thing. Oh, this guy's going to go off and do his own thing. I feel bad for Ken Hitchcock. I mean, the man is not a saint here. He has his part to play in why the Blues have struggled in the playoffs the last few years. But he's also a great coach. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's gotten other teams to places where they needed to be. He rose the Columbus Blue Jackets to a level of respectability. He took the Flyers to the playoffs several times. Obviously, as I said, won the Cup with the Dallas Stars. He's a good coach. He's the third winningest coach in St. Louis Blues history. But they've put him in a situation now where the players feel that they can almost get him fired, if that is their choice, by not playing very well at the beginning of the season. And then all of a sudden, Doug Armstrong feels, well, maybe I should have made the change. Because Doug Armstrong, sooner or later, is going to start feeling the heat on himself. You can look at the coach, and maybe that's what Armstrong is trying to do, keep the pressure on the coach for one more year to get Armstrong one more year in the future. Because usually the way it goes, in extreme circumstances, the coach will be fired along with the general manager. But generally, you get the coach, and then if the team still does not perform, you get the general manager a year after that. Hopefully it doesn't come to that for the Blues. Hopefully they just get their heads out of their butts and play well in the playoffs. All you need to do is win a couple series. You don't need to go from first round exit to Stanley Cup to save people's jobs. You need to start just performing. Win a couple playoff series, for goodness sake. But again, I feel bad for Ken Hitchcock because he's been put in another lame duck situation. He was already a lame duck this season when everybody knew that his contract was going to run up. A lot of people wondered, would he be brought back under a new contract? Now there's word that it may only be a one-year deal. Then that's another lame duck season. And quite frankly, I don't want to know, but I do want to know. And I think it's time because the people in the media know who it is. They just don't want to say anything because these players are probably still going to be in that locker room. But I think it's time that we start naming names. The stories, there's rumors running rampant that there's certain players that have been involved in just about every coach's firing. And there's certain players that are quote-unquote malcontents or causing trouble in the locker room or causing dissent, if nothing else. It's time we know who these people are. Because I'm sure that it's somebody who's a fan favorite. Because there's names being bandied about that it's them or it could be them. It's time we just kind of know. And obviously it'll be a he said, she said kind of deal. But the fans need to start knowing. Because otherwise, if you trade that player away, and it's a certain player that I think that it might be, then the city might explode. Because that person is a fan favorite, or that couple people are fan favorites. Well, people need to know what the reasoning is. And if you try to wait until they're gone, and then they come out and say their side of the story first, then all of a sudden you've really put the organization in a bad light. I hope for the best for the St. Louis Blues, not just because I'm a fan, but because this isn't the way that things are meant to go. A team so supremely talented that they are capable of continually competing for the best record in the regular season, to fall off in the playoffs year after year, there's just something wrong. I don't think that it's Ken Hitchcock's fault. He has his part to play, just like everybody in the organization does. But unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be massive changes. So whoever those problems are in the locker room, for whether it's this big or whether it's this big, they need to figure what's going on and how to fix it. What needs to be done. You don't want to placate those people, but you don't want to alienate them as well. St. Louis Blues have got to find something to get something rolling here and get things going on the positive side. Because even if Ken Hitchcock comes back, all of a sudden it just doesn't feel like it has the last couple seasons. It's a lot more trepidatious than hopeful going into this year. Now, granted, we're still early in the offseason. A lot of fans will probably feel different once they get that smell of the ice and the good feelings of a hockey season approaching. But the St. Louis Blues, I hope that the brain trust is really making the right choices here, because it's just starting to slide towards that side, towards the window's starting to close faster than we thought maybe. That is the view from the Midwest. What is your view on today's topic? If you're watching on YouTube, comment, rate, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. If you're watching on Facebook, share it around with your friends. That'll wrap it up for today's show. Until the next time, I'll see you then.